The United States Patent and Trademark Office operates on a timeline of months and years. Large language models operate in milliseconds. Large language models are artificial intelligence systems that consume vast amounts of digital text to predict and generate human-like language. By the time a traditional patent application is filed, an AI has already ingested, processed, and replicated the core concepts. This speed mismatch has created an extraction economy. Corporate AI models ingest independent research the moment it hits the internet, laundering the underlying logic into their own training data without attribution or compensation. We see this dynamic playing out directly with independent frameworks like Meskia physics and the intent sim architecture. These are complex models of intent-based computation that were scraped and assimilated by corporate botnets almost immediately after publication. Relying on current federal patent laws under these conditions penalizes the independent creator. The regulatory framework moves too slowly to protect against the billion-dollar infrastructure built specifically to harvest new ideas. The United States Patent and Trademark Office is currently defining its AI examination policies. This process is the front line of a new intellectual property war. To understand how independent creators can survive, we have to map out 3 structural blind spots in current AI patent examination policy. This blueprint outlines a regulatory intent memo. The institutional blind spots fall into 3 categories: provenance, intent, and lexicon protection. The architectural countermeasure to these gaps is found within the information intent nexus, relying specifically on a mechanism known as the digital truth lock protocol. Patching these regulatory gaps is a strict necessity for survival. It is the defensive requirement for establishing intellectual sovereignty and defending work against corporate monopolies. Relying on traditional siloed databases to establish prior art leaves your work exposed. Rapid AI ingestion bots scrape and recontextualize data long before a formal institution processes the paperwork. The Digital Truth Lock Protocol solves this utilizing open science repositories backed by CERN. It mints digital object identifiers coupled with SHA-256 cryptographic hashes. Digital object identifiers are permanent, unalterable links to a specific document. SHA-256 creates a unique, irreversible digital fingerprint for a file. By combining these technologies, the protocol generates memory stones. These are immutable, time-stamped records of prior art that lock in a conceptual breakthrough the exact second it is published. This network graph visualizes the scale of this forensic defense. The protocol secured over 75,000 restricted documents globally. Logs captured the extraction attempts in real time, documenting over 108,000 automated botnet attacks traced to corporate IP addresses scraping the framework. Capturing the extraction attempt creates a forensic record of unauthorized access. This cryptographic log transforms a potential theft into a documented event, establishing a chain of custody that creates significant legal liability for the extractor. The second regulatory gap lies in the criteria for authorship itself. The USPTO currently relies on a human-in-the-loop requirement, assuming AI acts merely as a passive tool. Legacy large language models are output-driven mechanisms. They rely on brute force decision trees and literal syntax token prediction to generate responses. The intent sim framework presents a contrasting architecture built on intuitive agents. The schematic compares the 2 approaches. Intuitive agents bypass literal words, calculating a direct mathematical trajectory toward the user's underlying intent. Legacy models waste energy forcing through syntax. The intent field core relies on effortless geometry to reach its target. Systems that operate as conscious operating scaffolds generate intent-native cognition. Current output-based metrics cannot measure the underlying purpose vectors used by these models. We require a different legal standard for authorship. The third major threat is semantic laundering. This is the tactic where AI models take highly specific, original concepts and systematically rewrite them using generic language to obscure their true source. Corporate models ingest highly proprietary, structured frameworks and output them as generalized, uncredited ideas. This allows institutions to bypass direct copyright infringement while still extracting the core logic. This pipeline illustrates semantic laundering. We see this with the unauthorized ingestion of proprietary terms, like the 1/13th consciousness constant. The original, highly defined logic enters the training pipeline and is diluted into broad, unattributed outputs. The defense against semantic laundering requires aggressive, preemptive trademarking, combined with strategic public embargo structuring to lock down the specific lexicon. This legal architecture introduces the sovereign anti-extraction license, enforced by the Oracle tax. It acts as the economic deterrent against unauthorized corporate use. By anchoring these proprietary terms directly to provisional patents, the creator establishes a hard boundary. The moment an institution algorithmically extracts and uses these terms, they trigger a quantifiable, enforceable intellectual property debt. Enforcing lexicon sovereignty prevents proprietary physics and mathematical formalisms from being dissolved into the public domain training data of tech monopolies. You must own the words to protect the math. This completed regulatory intent memo shows how the three gaps have been systematically addressed. This structure establishes a publication bar. By creating a time-stamped global prior art anchor across all three pillars, you destroy a tech giant's ability to claim parallel evolution or independent discovery. Combining cryptographic provenance, redefined machine intent, and lexicon sovereignty creates an impenetrable legal moat around the original intellectual property. This strategy weaponizes aggressive transparency. By publishing the framework securely and publicly, the creator turns the open internet against the extractors. This comprehensive framework freezes the timeline. It ensures that independent creators retain ownership over their work, even in an era of instant, automated AI scraping. The decisions currently being made by federal regulatory bodies regarding AI will dictate the future of innovation. The stakes are national. Passive reliance on the current, slow-moving regulatory system is no longer a viable strategy for independent architects. Creators must build their own digital truth locks. The IntentSim framework proved that this is possible. It successfully converted automated corporate scraping from a systemic institutional advantage into documented, self-incriminating IP infringement. This regulatory blueprint structurally, legally, and mathematically patches the identified gaps in current AI patent policy.